We've got it all covered.
Okay. Yeah, it's doing all. I don't know if I can ever get all this hooked back up again, though. That's going to be a challenge. Okay, I'm just kind of looking. Now I got kind of how this thing flows backwards here. My wife is in here cutting up strawberries. I think I was making too much noise. She may be cutting me. I don't know. Right?
She's like, no comment.
No comment. She's not been feeling. We had to go to the doctor, so she's just kind of recuperating. I think uh-oh, I heard a noise. Boom. Boom.
Show mine, you got that.
I see King check the rhyme again. I think I see. Kid, are you there? Oh, I got to add the string. There you are.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, some dumbass controlling the controls didn't know how to press all the right buttons.
Oh, it's all good. Like I said, I haven't had time to see that new document today. I was trying to read through it with you guys. So what's it? What is it? It's Richard Allen. What kind of motion is it?
Yeah, his attorneys. It's for the prosecutors to give them all the discovery evidence.
Oh, okay, for discovery. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the battle begins, right?
Yes. You know, I thought the one part was interesting on it too. They wanted any information about a lineup too, which I wonder if they ever did that.
We've never heard about
certainly.
it. But that doesn't mean it.
I know.
Yeah, certainly. If the
Keith,
attorneys, you know, they got to have some reason to believe that there was a lineup. You know, they probably got the information from their client. Would be my guess that maybe they put them in a lineup, or like you said, they're just trying to get all the documents they can.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have to read through them.
And I mean, looks like they're even going for a little bit of dirty laundry from number 22. Yeah, they want the personal files. That looks like some dirty laundry.
That's
and look at which one was it, Brad? What number again? I forgot. Was it 22 about
personnel files.
Yeah.
I got it pulled up on the screen right now. If you guys want, if you can look at your screen, I may just waste battery, but copies of any and all personnel files of Tobe Lesenby, Tony Liggett, and Michael Thomas.
Yeah, that is an interesting angle that I could see the defense going for, though, is playing that political side of it. Because as you can see, if even if they get the change of venue, which they probably will, you're going to have people from a bigger jurisdiction looking down at that smaller community. So I can see that they're going to be like, yeah, there's probably graft and corruption. So I can see them planting that seed of doubt through that angle. It makes total sense. Or they just, you know, it's going to be that one age-old question, man, whose story is going to be the best? You know what I mean? Because, you know, just from that discovery, you can see what they're going for. They're going for stuff that, you know what I mean, the political side of that number 22, they're wanting the personal files. Just that's, you know, seems kind of bizarre that you'd want to go after their personal files. But, you know, the battle starts, man. Basically, this is where they're going to start allowing evidence and not allowing evidence.
I have number 6 pulled up right now, and this is one you know they won't, but I want to read it again just real quick. A statement as to any consideration and benefits incurred or offered the state of Indiana has given or intends to give any witness in exchange for his or her testimony, including but not limited to monies paid, a change of prison accommodations and or workstation, or any state action that could reasonably affect the witness's bias, and the disclosure of any and all state action, its agents' actions taken during the time the witness was cooperating.
Yeah, it sounds like they think that maybe they are giving somebody a deal, or, you know, something in exchange for information, like a quid pro quo or a lighter sentence or something.
Yeah, we know who that probably is too.
Not only that, you'd want to get that information too to also sow that seed of doubt. I mean, that's all the defense
I
is
mean,
trying to do. So anything they can get,
hmm.
that leans towards that doubt, I think they're going to go for it. I mean, they're smart attorneys. That's why for being such a small county, this guy is going to get the best representation. Because they don't have a public defender's office, and so he's going to get the private attorney. So, like I said, I think it's going to be an interesting court case.
Here's number 5. A statement as to whether the defendant or any other person who participated in the alleged crime was acting directly or indirectly at the investigation or on behalf of the state of Indiana or one of its agents, and if so, state the names and addresses of said individuals. What does that mean? Number 5. It's on the screen there if you guys can see it. I don't know. I may be trying to read more into that than I thought, but
That'd be like inserting himself or someone else. That'd be like inserting himself or someone else.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to want the statement that he gave. It sounds like they want the statement that he gave to the DNR officer. And who it was, you know what I mean? It's kind of how you put it back up. It's kind of how it reads.
Yeah, because it says.
What's up, Omar? Yeah, it says it's almost like they want the correspondence between the defendant and any agent of the state. So, whoever he went to, and it's probably going to go back to that DNR because that's what everybody's saying. That's what's been leaked. I'm assuming it's a DNR agent. So it's kind of what it's saying, like, is they're wanting all correspondence between him and anybody at the state of Indiana that was involved in the investigation. Is kind of what it seems like. And see, this may lead to something else too. Let's say that, Tobe Lesenby was inside the CVS or something doing his shopping or something, and something was brought up about it. And Richard Allen told his attorney about it. Like, yeah, he told me, I mean, it could be something like that too, to where they're trying to sow that seed of doubt, trying to get it to make it look like the law enforcement, or leaking information or, you know what I mean? Something to that effect. Maybe he gained information from Tobe Lesenby, and that's why he knew certain things about the crime that maybe somebody else didn't know. Maybe that's what he's trying to lead on to, that, maybe law enforcement told him. I don't know, bro.
Yeah. No,
It sounds like they're trying to sow the seed of doubt. You know what I mean? And it looks like they're throwing everything at the wall, bro. So.
And hey, whenever they release these documents out to the public, like you said, they're putting word out there. They're, like one thing I can say that they haven't gotten the documents yet is that like you said, Carter has said this guy's not cooperating. Well, he's definitely not cooperating, or he appears that he's not cooperating for sure. So maybe, these days, this is a communication thing. This is a way to scare people because there's truly other people involved. I guarantee you right now, their sleep every night is not so good. You know what I'm saying? And then you see stuff like this going on out there, and and if you've actually been a witness for the state, that they should hear that you better tell the truth. I mean, because things are getting hot, people are going to know your name. I mean, this is all going to be public knowledge. It's getting real now. Like Kid was talking about there and Teen was talking about, man, it's getting real. Whenever they start sharing that information back and forth and a man's life is on the line, this is for real grande right here,
I mean, I wouldn't expect the defense to do anything less, man, as far as that. They're just trying to represent their client the best they can. They have to play that devil's advocate, and they're going to have an uphill battle, from what the prosecution, it's like I said, it's the 2-story deal. The prosecution thinks that they have it. And by reading this, the defense looks like they're throwing everything they can at the wall. So maybe their case is a little weaker than that, that their 2 defense attorneys led on to. Why would you want the personal records if your client didn't murder somebody, why are we going to be digging up dirty laundry on it to sow doubt? If you weren't there, dude, you weren't there. You know what I mean? If you didn't do it, you didn't do it. It's going to be plain as day. You know, you weren't sitting there for 2 hours on a bench, you know, after you left the bridge, bro. I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious whether you were there or not. So why are you going to go after personal, you know, records and stuff like that? It's, you know, it's that O.J. Simpson deal, that Mark Furman. If we can get them to believe that this one cop is racist, we can pretty much derail their whole prosecution hinged on that, and that's be their, you know, our seat of doubt right there. And then, you know, people walk, and it's almost like that's what they're trying to do.
Tina mentioned also that that they're going to show incompetence and corruption, maybe with that line, or they're trying to make people think about that.
That's what I think they're going to try, an angle they're going to try to use is maybe, you know, let's focus on the corruption there. That'll put doubt in someone that maybe, you know, there was corruption. So maybe this isn't the guy, even though he is the guy. All it takes is one person, you know, not to agree with the rest of the jurors.
And it's easily relatable. Anybody that's lived in a small town can relate to it and go, yeah, there's at the very least, it's cronyism. Most people would mistake it for, you know, and it is a form of corruption. Don't get me wrong. Crony is probably the worst to me, but I think anybody can relate to that. And I could definitely see the defense wanting to go after that. You know, especially if they get into a bigger venue down south to maybe a little bit bigger populace. You know, and any of them that lived in a small town, they're going to know, like, yeah, it's that Barney Fife mentality. The cops probably did thump, you know what I mean, and get that doubt. I don't know, man. It's just, like I said, it's just like any other trial, though, man. It's some of that evidence is going to be admissible. Some of it's not going to be. Some of the good stuff is, and some of the good stuff isn't. As I was saying, the judicial system is not about finding the truth and 100% nothing but the truth. No, that's not the point. The point is to get as close as they can in a short amount of time and resources as possible. You know what I mean? That's how I see it anyway. I don't know. How do you guys see it?
Well, just like Omar was saying just then, he's like, all you got to do is just plant a little bit of a seed of a doubt, get one person on that jury to believe that there's something corrupt about it, and this dude to be out there walking, you know, for sure. And of course,
and he's right though, and it kind of goes back to that deal. Like, our governments has got to be careful with this stuff, man. You know, that's why it goes back when they tell all these white little lies. These are the consequences of telling these white lies over periods of time. It doesn't take very much doubt for people to believe in conspiracy theories that may or may not be true. But you know, over your lifetime that, you know, your government has lied to you about X, Y, and Z, then you're probably going to, you know, yeah, they're probably lying about this too. That's the sucky part about your government telling you white lies over a long period of time that nobody has any trust or any, you know, that relationship falls apart.
well, I tell you this, on all these cases, you can hear, oh, wait a second. I see Adjusted Fate. Fate is joining us here. I heard there's a ruckus in here. Any truth to it? A ruckus. Yeah, there may be a ruckus in here. Hey, so we were talking about, you know, you were talking about that corruption there. And of course, the first thing that came up, like even with this Idaho case that they made an arrest in today, I mean, you know, that's the first thing that people are talking about. You know, people have lost a lot of respect for law enforcement in the past several years. You know, it's across the board. I mean, you know, in like my town, I don't think it's that bad, but I see it across the country, and I guess that whenever there's something bad happens, you can really, or maybe it's just made up. Maybe people just using it as a scapegoat. I mean, we really think there's corruption up in this? You think that has an effect on it? I mean, seriously. I mean, it probably is, but I mean, can we? Is it real? I mean, is that really what's cruxing these cases out, or what do you think?
You can go ahead and go, Tina, if you want.
Okay, I just, not necessarily in, there's corruption in most places. It's just what type. Is it just like Kid was saying, like one little small white lie? And we don't necessarily always find out about that, if that makes sense. But and I'm talking about like a bigger city. I grew up in a small town, and my dad was friend, my dad, I can't talk, was friends with the local chief in town. And me and my friends got in some trouble and was never spoke of, you know. And to this day, I know that something really bad happened in that city, and you know, it was covered up. It was the good old boy system. And I think in small towns, it's more prevalent than we think, you know, especially well, with social media. You would think that these places wouldn't do that, because you see all the time where people record, you know, when we've seen these beatings and these murders of people getting pulled over by law enforcement officers and everything. You would think that it wouldn't be so widespread, the corruption, but it is.
Well, I grant you these cameras. I mean, I noticed that we and our officers have them now, and of course, you know, I think maybe those are trying to help some. Sometimes I think they come at the opposite end there. I think they may show things that they didn't want to show. Let's see what else is here. Yeah, just
And
that they
also,
will.
and also, a lot of it too, man, is even if there's not graft and corruption, just the perception of there being graft and corruption. And as we've seen, you know, maybe certain media outlets have aligned themselves with, I'm not going to say anti-police, but not so much pro-police. So, you know, you see it more on the news, more of the anti-police message, or to where they're showing more, you know, George Floyd incidents. They're bringing it up more. They're showing that more to you, you know, the 24-hour news cycle. They're able to, you know, just keep playing it and basically brainwash people into believing whatever side of the story they want you to believe as well. So you have that in there as well. There may not be graft and corruption in every small county in America, but I guarantee if you ask any American, I bet a good percentage of them are going to assume that there is, just based on what we know from technology, like you said, from body cams, from the media, the perception that everybody gets from the media as well, and then your own personal interaction with police. You know, when you get pulled over and harassed from age, you know, 15, 16 for silly shit, you know, through your whole life, and it makes you wonder that, yeah, maybe these guys are up to something. You know, this guy's been trying to bust me for pot for 10 fucking years, dude. What's going on, bro? Like, you know, what is he really up to? And I've been arrested falsely, and I've had drugs planted on me and went to jail for it. So my own personal experience, and, you know, to that cop doing it, he was just hitting a quota. He was just trying to meet his quota. He didn't realize that, you know, the effect 10 years down the road, that how people are going to perceive the relationship with your police and your government. That's what I'm saying. This unintended consequences of those white lies is paranoia. And that's what's, I mean, the police are paranoid. The populace is paranoid. Everybody's paranoid. Just like that Kurt Cobain song, bro. It's how I see it.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Don't mean they're not watching.
I mean, think about it. The war on drugs alone, how many people were nicked off just because of that, bro? Or at least got some residual, or had a family member that went to prison over it. And people see that as graft and corruption. You know, when you're feeding the military industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, some people see that, just that alone, of them arresting you or arresting your relative that maybe was doing something illegal, but then you're fed into that machine that's, you know, making money based off of imprisoning people. Some people see that as graft and corruption. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be an easy seed to sow with corruption and graft and stuff, and especially with the new sheriff coming in and how that whole thing is perceived, and with the lawsuits. So these attorneys, like I said, it's going to be a slobber knocker.
Those guys are not playing. Hey, let's go down that rabbit hole right there for a minute, man. These personal prisons. We actually had one come in near me. It's in the county next to me, adjacent to us. But it, you know, do you know where this thing was brought in by the Economic Development Commission? And do you know where it's housed at? The prison paid for the private prison. You know where it's housed at in that town? I'll tell you, the industrial park.
Were they short on labor?
That's crazy, man. I was like, what? But I mean, it's good for the county, because there's payments, man. People, I'm telling you right now, crime is big business. I mean, I'm scared to even talk about it, with lawyers and police officers and the training they get and the toys they get and the money that flows through all that. And I mean, it's a big system. I mean, it's a big system. There's a great jobs to have. I mean, of course, you got to watch your back. You get around lawyers and such around here that are defense lawyers and prosecutors and such, man, there's a lot of people out to get you. A lot of people want what you have, and they'll take it away from you if you let them, including your life. I mean, it's all hidden. It's all hidden by culture these days. I mean, it's like, we hide it. We hide it with beautiful suits and, Maseratis and, Lincolns and BMWs and Teslas. But the reality of it is that we all kill to eat and then defecate that out the other end. So it's more visceral than we give it credit, because we hide it behind these telephones and fancy suits and cars and such. So anyway, Tina, what do you think?
I mean, apparently, when you read this, this is going back to corruption. His attorneys are definitely going to dig into the Liggett, Thomas, and Lesenby thing. And if it creates doubt, I mean, I agree with what you and Kid both said. I mean, just watching the news and living where I do, I'm like, yeah, I doubt that cop's telling the truth, and if they expose their dirty laundry about the election and everything, it could put doubt, maybe even in more than one person, so.
I hope the evidence is I hope it's pretty cut and dry, that they're able to get, anybody can kind of see through the throwing the mud on the wall. Hopefully they're able, if the guy did it, of course. But my point, it goes back to the way the judicial system is set up. It is rife with cronyism. Literally, the judge, your attorney, the defense, and the prosecutor, they're all involved in the same club. They're all a part of the bar of your state, typically, or the national bar, if it's a federal case. So for one, they're already all in the same club, and they're all promoted within that club. Typically, you'll have an elected district judge, but then they appoint other judges underneath them that run stuff, basically. So it's all cronyism. They're all lawyers. They all went to school together. They all partied together. It's them versus us. No matter how you go into that courtroom, you have to deal with them. So really, you're not getting a fair shake in the real scheme of things, is how I see it. When you really look at it, the cronyism alone is just rife. And even if there's not the perception of corruption, it's pretty obvious to me. You start looking at different judges and how they make it through the different court, and it's just like, yeah, they've literally turned the bar into a political, to where people are jockeying for different positions within the bar so they can become judges and, have a career in the legal system. Like you said, it's just like the plumbers union. They're all looking out after each other's backs, and it's no different with the legal system.
But I see that you have that pulled up again.
Yeah.
Number 8 is interesting to me.
That's pretty short and sweet. Do you know what Lockridge is? I mean, what is that? What does number 8 stand out to you as?
Well, grand jury testimony of a witness would we know if did they have a grand jury of, let's say, the person at the beginning that they were talking about that was a confidential informant? Is this their testimony? Or is this just something in general they always throw in to cover their bases? Lockridge versus the state, that must refer to a case with a grand jury asking for that testimony.
Yeah, and they had to give it to them. Yeah, I got you. Now, have they? Do we know of a grand jury in this? Are you aware
I
of
know,
one?
it's not asking, would
Yeah.
we?
No, we wouldn't know, would we? Or would we?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it could be sworn to secrecy, I guess. I mean, we don't have to
Yeah.
know about it,
Well,
but
it's so-
typically, I don't know how Indiana works, but I know a lot of states. I can't remember if it's common law states or whatever they call them, or commonwealths, but they have to have, they have to have a grand jury, press the charges. The district attorney can, but I think some states that it has to go to a grand jury, and maybe they held a grand jury before they press charges. That didn't make. I don't know. Maybe they had a previous grand jury, but you think if they would have had a grand jury, they wouldn't have made the arrest when they did, because Tobe was out of town. Remember, and they had to wait till Monday or whatever to do the press conference because everybody couldn't be there or something. So it doesn't seem like they'd had a planned grand jury, but maybe they did.
That's a good point. Okay, so all right now. But Tina, earlier today we were talking about some other points with this, or do we? Or is there other things we need to talk about this right now? Or you want to drift into what we were talking about earlier, which is kind of the state of affairs? We were hitting some angles on where things could be. We were going to call it Law Part 2, but I think this may have came out and may have superseded it some. I don't know, but I got some feedback from some people on that little solo video I did, and I knew I would, because I knew I don't look at it as complete. I got to have other people with me. I got to have like you and Kid, because you guys have learned so much different perspectives than what I have. But I missed a couple of search warrants. And of course, a probable cause. I mean, if there's that many search warrants, that kind of makes me scared. Are they too easy to give out? Or maybe we want them to be easy to get out. If you're not guilty, then maybe you should get searched. But I think Kid would probably disagree with that. I don't know. What do you think? Search warrants.
Go ahead, Kid.
What's the specific question on it?
Well, I mean, I missed some search warrants with this thing. So we know, and I was reminded of at least two more. Tina, you may be more apt to take this, but I mean, there's been a lot of search warrants in this case. It makes it. How did they get probable cause to get those search warrants? I mean,
Oh, that's an easy burden, though. I mean, that's a pretty easy burden to reach, man.
Tina,
Yeah, I mean, the first one served was on Bicycle Road, if I'm correct, and that was the Maxwell resident. And they were specifically looking, I'm pretty sure it said a 40 caliber weapon. And then the Weber residents, they were looking, for that too. Both of those places were near the bridge and the scene. There's so many rumors about someone in the Maxwell household, possibly being involved. And this was early, which we know now, it isn't the case. But, those two warrants were served within hours of finding the girls, from my understanding. I have to go back on my case and look, but so those were two.
Yeah, on the bicycle bridge, my guess would have been that probably some information that was given. Maybe somebody had seen that person in that area, or maybe someone directly involved with it. Turned the name in or something like that.
Well, rumor early on was, the lady looked out her window and saw two teenage boys with the girls dressed in all black, and supposedly someone identified one of the residents from Bicycle Road as possible being one of those, but nothing ever came of it. It was just a rumor.
And of course, Ron Logan, it was his property, so they're going to have to get the search warrant just for that, just to keep it all legal, just to keep the crime scene and all that, the chain of custody and all that. And what other one?
Real quick here, Adjusted Fate says y'all want to know something interesting about one of the eyewitnesses in that PCA, and I was like, what? Also, I think it said Carter was in Europe, not Tobe. Anyway, but here's the second part to it. You want to know something interesting. And it says, if the eyewitness who saw BG standing on the first platform as she approached the bridge is Cheyenne, then in my opinion, she has to be lying to law enforcement. Do we even know, was Cheyenne there that day? I mean, this PCA, I mean,
Yes.
she was there that day.
Yes.
Who is Cheyenne, though, Tina? And what can we say about her?
Yeah.
I think she was there. I think she was there later, though. I don't know if that was the same. Because on that, it says that she walked up to the bridge, seen him, then she turned around, left, and is seen on the camera leaving. So Cheyenne, we know that she walked out onto the bridge, took other pictures, whoop-de-woo, walked all the way down the bridge. So the time wouldn't line. I don't think the time would line up if it was her, if that's her. Doesn't seem like it would be. It seems like she came later. I don't know. Am I wrong? I'm wrong on a lot of shit, guys. I'm just out there.
The only pictures I saw mentioned in there were those teenage girls. But again, this thing is lacking. And I mean, they just listed the things they wanted to list in there. They may have left people out. According to the
Cheyenne
PCA,
took a picture. She took a picture on the other, almost on the far side, on the south side of the bridge, almost, right?
I have no idea.
So I think she uploaded one where she's kind of like hanging off the, I think it'd be the east side of the bridge. I'm sorry, the west side of the bridge, and it's shooting and it's looking at the creek and stuff. So I bet to walk across the bridge, you're talking probably 5 minutes each way. So that'd have been 10 more minutes. The cameras would have noticed the time difference, Because did the PCA not say that lady left and then they witnessed her car leaving? And I'm sure they'd have her. I'm sure they'd have her cell phone data too. When she was there and when she was leaving as well. Doesn't seem like it's the same person. Cheyenne said that when she was lying to the police. I mean, you'd think they would have brought her in for. I mean, you think something would have been done about it. I mean, that's a pretty big lie because supposedly she met up with somebody that was there that was walking as well. So I don't see Cheyenne telling two different sides of the story. I think she was there just a little bit later, and I think some people are just trying to make it seem like something nefarious.
Well, now, Tina, what have you heard on it? What's the? I mean, I guess we're all kind of speculating, but what have you heard? Have you heard something different than that, or does that go along with what you've heard?
Well, I'm confused what Kid is saying. Is he saying that Cheyenne was the woman that saw him and was going to walk on the bridge for her walk, and she turned around and left? Is that?
No, I'm saying it's not her because, I'm saying it's not Cheyenne because of the two different stories.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's not Cheyenne. That's what I was getting at. But I was confused if that's what.
Right.
Yeah.
The stories aren't the same. Why would Cheyenne come out in social media blatantly lie or lie to the cops?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense. It seems like she was there literally probably as the crime was going on, man. I mean, she probably didn't, maybe didn't hear it or something. I don't know. I think that maybe somebody got a hold of her name early on, a certain person, a certain douchebag, and, turned the anthill into a mountain. That's what it seems like to me. It seems like the girl was there. She went to the, police. It's not like she tried to hide from him like Richard Allen. She didn't go to a DNR officer and give her report to a wildlife guy and duck out. You know what I mean? So just another victim in the cruel game of true crime.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's just so many rumors out there. It's so hard, to figure out who's who. And
Hey, real quick,
she was there later. I mean, she took pictures, so there's going to be evidence to prove where she was, when she was there, and whatnot. So I just don't see it, man. If she was involved in it, I'm sure that they would have already had the link and they would have already had it. I mean, you're talking 6 years. How many times did they reset the investigation? And the reason they missed it is because literally the tip was not turned in, and her tip was turned in, So who knows how many times they went back to her and re-interviewed her, like they did everybody else.
Hey, adjusted face wanted us to know was like that's why my sentence begin with if. LOL. I don't trust her at all. But and
No
this is
damn
just
right.
we're just supposing, of course, and then what you said is probably true. I mean, the PCA that we saw did not insinuate that that she was there or they didn't talk about her. And the woman that was there, I got it. There was three teenage girls and then some older person. I was thinking
Yes.
like 40s, 50s, or 60s or something like that. I don't know. That's what I got from it.
I always thought for some reason, I know this is out there. I mean, this is even crazier than what you guys are thinking, but I always like wondered if that maybe was his life or something. But yeah, it seemed like it was a lady that, because she's the one that she seen the girls walking across the bridge as she was coming in out there at Freedom Bridge, correct? And then she pulled in, walked, seen him on the bridge, and she went right back to her car. Then she left. So she's on camera coming and going. And Cheyenne was there a little bit longer than just pulling in, going to just the head of the bridge, turn around and leaving. And Cheyenne never admitted to seeing the girls either. That lady is the last person to see those girls alive, not Kelsey. That lady on the trails that seen Richard Allen at the bridge or on the bridge, and as she left, she's the last people to see the two girls.
Hey,
It's not Cheyenne. It's not Cheyenne.
I want to throw something else out there. We're still um, we're still we still don't really know exactly what's going on. Let's just say that we just got through reading this request for information, the discovery follow up there, where the criminal defense of Richard Allen, he's asking for everything that he can get, including the personnel files of Tobe and Michael Thomas and Lisenby, I think it is. No, and then Liz, what's his name? Whatever his name is, Liggett. Um, so, but we were. I want to know. I want to know where you guys stand on this whole others thing. Now, is there any kind of a um, what's going on with this others thing? Is it? Are you guys still with the Klein angle, or are you with the cover up? I mean, where you? Help me understand with what that means. Is it just hackney BS that the McClellan threw out there, or is this what is this? What is this others thing?
You want to go first, kid?
Yeah, I think it's like you said, the DNR, him going to the DNR and the tip not being filed the way it's supposed to be filed. I think that's what caused the hang up. I think once that was discovered, it caught it caught everybody off guard, so they needed more time to put stuff together. You talking it's a smaller county. They don't have the resources as far as the prosecutor. They might be able to go to the state and get help. It almost seems like he was behind the eight ball and he's trying to get out from behind it as far as getting as much information and everything as he could to help the prosecution's case, just like the defense does. It's a common delay tactic. And so he chose to make the argument that other people are involved based on the proximity maybe of the Anthony Shots account being in communications, using that as a justification to buy time. But it's almost like he was using it to buy time. That's what I think.
Tina, what do you think?
Well, I kind of disagree with kids somewhat. For one fact that I get stuck on is Richard Allen. How did he know that they were going to be there when they were there? I mean, how does he just get that lucky? Because if he was out there just to do this, he ran into three young girls and then he ran into a lady by herself. And it was like he was communicating with someone like, hey, they're there. They're going to be there. That's where I think the other actor that McClellan was talking about was maybe not necessarily someone else with him, but someone who gave him the knowledge. And I think that's where, unfortunately, KK when I read the beginning of that document, they want all the statements from a confidential informant who gave information about Richard Allen, and they want information on if any deals were made, anything like that. Again, this could all just be common in this type of document anyways, but it made me immediately think, all right, he's talking, because we know he did get some charges dropped and all that. So I think he was part of that. I don't know how far you want me to go into this because
Well, there's
I
plenty
go back and forth.
Well, just do it like that. I mean, you don't know the answer to it. These are just options that you see out there. You got a great mind. You're researching stuff. You don't, like I said, you're not holding an axe down on our head saying you're going to believe this one right here. You're just explaining how you see it can unfold.
No, because I don't. I just saw where Justice Fate put the Client Express. No, not the Client Express. For like 6 years, I've been, looking at this, and never did I think, and I still don't want to think it, but what they're putting out there, it's just like, oh my God, have I been wrong? Should I be looking, at this, because how did he know? How did he know? That those girls were going to be there. It was like the exact time. And like I said, he passed up 3 young teenagers and a lady who was by herself all the way out there. So I don't, when you just sit and think about it, I mean, was he that? How the heck did he, get that lucky to show up at that time? Because like I said, he passed these other people. Explain that. I mean, someone explain that. How do I get past that?
Hey, Adjusted Fate just threw out one of our old time favorites. Adjusted Fate says Logan's pig roast, was there any sons of Odin in attendance? Do they have any connection to this case?
That's a whole nother. Yeah. We still haven't given up on that. Like, the pig roast, wasn't that the weekend before the murders?
I don't think we ever. I think it was. Of course, we also deducted from that there may have been, a couple
Another
random
gathering of a different type.
Well, that if you're on meth, you may be awake for 3, 4, 5 days. I don't know. Who knows? I'm gonna tell you this though, that was on our mind for a while there. Though, it's specifically whenever you started talking about there being some kind of a rune, there with the bodies, and I mentioned this last night in that other video, but and of course, we discussed this morning that the Gray Hughes video where he reenacted the whole situation was, it looked like he was there for a long time, and maybe he was. I don't know. But, maybe to CYA, he did some stuff like that. Maybe there was somebody, I don't know. You could go down that avenue with that. That's another way to put somebody else there. One of the things that we talked about is just that Klein knew, the Klein Express. Klein knew they were there from the Anthony Shots account or whoever it was that was on the account.
Yeah.
And then the other one is that, there were some people down there from the pig roast. You talked about the camera equipment that was on the PCA for Ron Logan, and you had you can tie some of the people at Logan's to camera equipment. You can go down that rabbit hole deep, can't you?
Yes. It's like, I think I just saw Adjusted Fate said truckload of worms. I say can of worms. Because you can go down so many rabbit holes. But what we were talking about the other day, about, I want to be careful how I put this out there. The pig roast. I think that was the weekend before, but there was another gathering of some people to do with the Sons of Odin, but it was a different type of gathering. And when I stepped some of those people, gonna put this out there. I'm not gonna put names, but when I looked some of those people up, 2 of them out of 4 that I looked up, I could only get so far on Google before this great big thing came up for Homeland Security, stating that these people, these 2 individuals, were on a watch list. So I couldn't go no further, and I got out of it because I don't need them coming after me. Like, why are you looking this up? Because it was 2 of the people. So, I haven't given up on that because, I bet we couldn't tie Richard Allen to that. And we definitely know, he's done this. But was he by himself or was he with other people?
Hey, and that's what Omar threw out there too. He was like, maybe let's talk about him being a serial killer in a minute. I want to go back to that, but I don't know, kid. You think that Omar said this may be like a crime of opportunity?
Yeah, that's what. And I mean, with all due respect, I mean, it could be both ways. I mean, it could be her way, and I could be totally wrong. But it seems like, okay, he passed. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. He shows up. The first 3 girls he sees, supposedly he's looking at his phone. He doesn't acknowledge them, is what they both said. He passes by. It's not the opportunity. This guy's a coward. He's looking to trap, probably younger girls that are more naive, that are probably going to be able to be, when he pulls that gun and cocks it, they're going to be a little more afraid. Maybe those girls are a little older and they wouldn't, with 3 of them, maybe they'd take off running. Maybe it wasn't in his mind the right opportunity. So he keeps walking, comes across an older lady. Maybe that's not what he's into. You know what I mean? Maybe that's not, you know what I mean? Maybe he just sees her or whatever. And then maybe he comes across the girls and the girls maybe say something to him slick. He sees it as maybe an insult or something like that. Or maybe they're laughing. He thinks that they're laughing at him. I mean, it could be several different things in it because it's almost like the dude went off, like the dude just went on a rage or something. You know what I mean? Like, and it said that, supposedly the girl said, is that creepy guy, supposedly they had an encounter with him before that made them feel off as well. So maybe they did laugh at him and it pissed dude off and it just sent him off the deep end. And seeing the girls go across the bridge, or if he was on the south side of the bridge, they fell right into his trap. He's a coward. He wants to do it in the darkness. He don't want to do it out in the open on the trail. He wants to be able to take them off the trail over there into his own little corner, do his little thing, without nobody seeing it, and then get out of there. So, you know what I mean? That's what it seems like to me. Is like maybe, he perceived it as, them taking a slant at him, them laughing at him, or, maybe he said something to him and they made fun of him. I mean, I'm not trying to blame the girls at all, because it's definitely this asshole's fault. But maybe it was something like that. So maybe that's why he passed those people up. Maybe it's just wasn't the opportunity he was looking for. And the Sons of Odin and all that. I mean, the ones I know, I mean, maybe they're into sacrifice and all that, but you start talking about killing kids and shit and they'll kill you. They're not, all the ones I've known, they're not like some kind of child sacrifice group and shit like that. They're, it's a different breed of people for sure, but they're not, the ones I've known aren't into that kind of weird shit. The ones I've known that are into that are just like, a normal person. You start talking about that weird stuff like that, and they're probably going to hurt you for talking about it.
Well, and today we did see that the arrest inside of that Idaho case definitely was not a Sons of Odin guy. This was a PhD candidate, so, I know it's easy to, we're going to blame the meth head, or we're going to blame the, the biker gang or whatever, but hell, a lot of those guys, they may not even know what a rune is. They may just be, that's a different kind of person that's thinking about that kind of stuff. But now let's got a couple of questions here. Okay, there's one from Justin Fate. He was talking about the mysterious connections of Rick Allen and Tina. We could never find anybody ever connected to Rick Allen, could we? I mean, this guy's a ghost, or seemed like it to me. No social media, no LinkedIn page, no. I mean, you got to dig hard to find something about Rick Allen, but that may be why he's, if he's invested with people like KK, then he, maybe that's why we hadn't heard of him. He just spends all his time on the dark web.
Yeah, I mean, and even in one of the Delphi groups. I guess he was on there from the beginning as Rick Allen Hill. And we know he goes by Rick because his lawyers told us that. You know, he was in that group he would steer everybody a different way.
Real quick, let's, Adjusted Fate was talking about serial killerish to me about some bones under the bridge, but let's just talk about this from a serial killer angle. I mean, we've had this other stabbing. I keep on kind of trying to compare it to Idaho, but I mean, what do you guys think? Just both of you tell me the pros and cons of what you see on Rick Allen being a lot of people have had a stab at it, but what do you guys think about him being a serial killer with what we see of him there on that bridge?
Well, I agree with, Kid in the very beginning. I thought, why in the world would someone go out there, broad daylight like that and do what he did, unless, he was a serial killer. And the urge was there. He just, he had a purpose that day. He knew he needed to do this. And unfortunately, it was, those two little girls. But if he was, let's do the serial killer. We know another case that if you do the date thing, it was the 2013, was 13. That was my thought, had he done that? And then, but you can't tie him to that either. But at the time, that was my thought, why would he go out there just to do that and take that chance in the middle of the day like that? Was the urge that strong? And like Kid said, he passed up those three. Maybe he didn't think he could take those, and the older lady isn't what he was looking for. And he did see the girls when they came in, so he made a chance, that a choice. I mean, that this is who it's going to be, and so he had to. And is that why he's gotten away with it so long? Because serial killers, it takes a while, the majority of the time, for them to be arrested. And does a man in his, late 40s just decide one day to go out and I'm going to commit murder? I don't think so. So when it first happened, that was kind of where I was I thought, this was probably a serial killer. And then, it changed to, like Kid had mentioned, you and I had talked about this also, is he just was out there and maybe the girls did smart off something, being teenage girls. I was a teenage girl. I remember, saying that about older guys, just how dumb they were or something like that when I was in a store and, and they're trying to look at you when you're 14 years old. Did they smirk off something to him and it ticked him off? I mean, I see it always.
Hey, Kid, Justin Fay was talking about having a set of cojones and doing this murder in the middle of the day. I mean,
I don't know about, but I don't know. Big balls is, that's different. You know what I mean? To me, this guy's a fucking coward. I mean, you got big balls. You know what I mean? Go take on at least a dude or maybe two or three dudes. You know what I mean? Go down that sex registry list or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. The dude's a fucking coward to go after two kids. To me, the dude might be crazy. You know what I mean? More than big balls, I think. But yeah, I don't know, man. It always goes back to that thing, man. I think that maybe maybe it was a learned behavior as far as learning how to stalk people online and figure out where they were and stuff like that. Maybe he did learn that from Anthony Shots. But I still think, you know what I mean? I think that, like you said, maybe he'd been, going through a hard time in his life. Maybe that wasn't the first day he was out there hunting. Maybe he's just, goes through there and just waiting for that perfect, opportunity. And I've always said, man, I think you don't just kill two girls in broad daylight as your first crime. There's got to be some dead animals. There's got to be something that somebody's seen before this. You know what I mean? There's typically is. It's rare that, that it starts at this progressed state. It's a progression, so You know, typically it starts animals or window peeping and different. It progresses on to, you know, so there's got to be something. And like you said, his background as far as public information that people, it's sparse. As far as links to people and stuff like that, it's a pretty fucking sparse deal, man.
I didn't even think he had a cell phone. You know, I was just thinking that, you know, this guy here, you know, he's just a Luddite. But then whenever that PCA came out, he was saying he was watching his stock ticker. Of course, he was just probably because he knew his phone was tagged there and he better say something, you know. Because that
Found his email. Remember, I found his email. And I can't say on here his email was because it was very
I told
very
Kid
sexual.
and Donald about that. It was like a
Yeah.
something. It was about he was orally and his email. You know, of course, you know, as
that
a
was his email.
yeah, that was his email address. Of course, I mean, you send that to your office, they send that to you, you know, Mr. Whatever the hell I am at gmail.com. I mean, come on. It's really weird. Of
Yeah,
course,
that was. Go ahead.
well, no, I mean, it's just really weird that he would, you know, even if it's a personal account, people still going to know it, you know. You know, if
Yeah,
that's,
because where I found it was on where he had it was on my case.
Yeah.
And that was the email he had given them. And I was like, oh my gosh.
that is insane. That is totally insane to give that.
So we know where his mind is just from having that as an email.
Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't have that unless you thought that were cool. I mean, you know, you're sending that to some old lady at the courthouse, you know, some woman who works 20 hours a week. And I mean, come on. Yeah, that's crazy right there.
Yeah, that's why I think it's kind of the rage deal, man. Is, you know, the girls. I mean, any, like you said, at 14, man, you're gonna pick up on a creeper, dude. You know, like, and supposedly he had a handkerchief. You know, maybe he had the bottom part of his face covered, just looking like a straight creeper. Maybe they said that and he overheard it and it sent him into a rage. It just, I don't know, man. It don't make sense why you'd be carrying a gun on a trail, though. Like you said, some of it was premeditated, or was he just out there constantly hunting, waiting for somebody to cross that bridge at the right opportunity? Like I said, I don't know. It's a 50-50 to me still. I still have a hard time because that timing is so tight, man. Like, he almost knew. And I also want to know, like, what route did Kelsey take when she went there? Did she come the back way by Ron Logan's house, or did she actually come in front of the CPS building? Has that ever been told? I know that HLN did a deal, or she drove to the deal, but I don't know if they ever gave the exact route. Did they? I was always wondering if maybe she drove by and he seen it. You know, maybe he was at the CPS and she drove that route instead of going by the cemetery. Maybe she went by the CPS building and he seen her drive by. And like you said, maybe he was stalking her online. Maybe, you know, one of the three girls he was stalking online, maybe seen Anthony Shots doing it and he just mimicked that behavior. It's hard to say.
We did a show, Brad, Catfisher.
Yeah.
You know, he very well could have had that account because we do know on that day 2 people were logged into that account.
Yeah, and we've always assumed that it was someone more closely connected to Kagan. But I mean, you know, if he, you know, the more sophisticated you are with using electronic equipment, the more you could emulate that. I mean, you know, Kagan could have had a VPN set up. I mean, who knows what these people that are doing things undercover, what they think's undercover, these creepers. I mean, you know, who knows? But you know, I don't know. I'm still in my brain. It's kind of like what Tina was talking about a couple of moments ago. I did not want this to be where there was a whole group of grown ass men out there chasing down 2 little girls. And Kid, you just said something here that really caught my attention. And actually, Tina and I talked about it today. And that's, him having a gun out there and obviously a fixed blade knife, So, I mean, if you're out there just at a walking trail, maybe if I'm working around my property, I'm going out near the creek and I know, well, there's a creek there, but it's February. You're not going to be fighting snakes. There may be a bear there. I don't know if there's bears in that area or not. But I mean, he did seem awfully prepared for me, like you said, he came up there real fast. He came down that trail real fast. If you're talking about Gray Hair's video, that time elapsed, past these girls, past this woman, goes to the bridge. And then he maybe even got another text. The girls may have been texting with 18 shots. Said, we're almost there. We're getting there. And then he hid. And then they got out there and then he went up there and attacked them. It's like he knew, he knew they were there. How? That's the question. How did he know? Or is it just look like that? That's the question.
It's a very tight timeline, man. I mean, makes you want to believe that, yeah, he had foreknowledge of them showing up there. But then, man, there's always weird stuff and crimes that happen, man, that just line right up, and it, you know what I mean? And we don't know how many times he'd been there, like you said. Just Fate, I think, was saying that, he wasn't employed at the time. Maybe he went up there 2 or 3 times a day and ran that same scenario where he parked, walked, hoping he'd catch somebody at the other end, didn't walk, but, and left. We don't know how many times he tried that before. So we don't know if this was the first time and he got it on the first try, really. You know what I mean? To us, it looks like it is. But who knows how many times he may have went out there before and it, were dry runs, or maybe he was timing things and stuff. But it seems like, man, there was some organization to it. There's no reason I don't go to a nature trail to go walk and carry a gun with me typically, man. I carry my pocket knife everywhere I go. That's typically enough on a nature trail.
Right.
It's not like you're going to be, stomping off into the woods where you need to be dealing with snakes or, you know what I mean? Or something attacking you. I mean, it's Delphi, Indiana. You're not in the woods. You know what I mean? You kind of are, but you don't have any predators that are going to, you know what I mean? That would justify carrying a pistol to a nature trail for, you know what I mean?
I agree. But I mean, I know some people that carry them everywhere, but I think someone else is in. Maybe just.
But then, like, some of it's disorganized. Why in the hell did he kill him way down there by the cemetery and park way the hell up there at the CPS building? If it was organized, if it was all organized, you think he would have planned that more to a T. He would have parked and hid in the cemetery. You know what I mean? There's other ways that crime could have went off to where he would have been less seen, less noticed than walking down 300 bloody and muddy.
And he would have never.
So that's why I kind of lean towards that. Maybe he was organized, and then, like you said, the girls or something, maybe he went into a rage and couldn't control it. And the shit just, flowed over, or, you know what I mean? Something set him off. It didn't go as planned, something like that.
Well, we know that he's charged, partially what he's charged with is kidnapping. Of course, kidnapping, as Tina pointed out, could just be, him stopping them on their journey and making them do something against their will. Or it could have been that his plan was to get them and carry them somewhere else. But again, why did he not park at the cemetery? Because he would not have to go by the little storage facility up there where the camera's at. But he goes by the camera, parks at the CPS building, walks all the way down there, goes across the bridge, crosses the water to the other side, and then walks back up 300 bloody and muddy. Why? If it was planned, maybe he worked it through, but then he got that call. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it. I don't understand if it was planned why he would do that. That's always been one of the catches for me. Why did he not park it at the cemetery? But now I see some here. Pat Brown was parked at the cemetery. That's something we've talked about before. I think, maybe on the back channel. Tina, what do you think?
Well, if Pat Brown was in the cemetery, then we would have had probably a witness statement in the PCA.
True.
If he witnessed him come up through the cemetery, maybe he didn't. Maybe he stayed in the woods and got back onto the trail. But then you think a lot more people would have seen him on the trail, bloody and muddy, because that's at 4 o'clock they were looking for the girls. So I don't
Yeah.
know. And what was Pat Brown doing? I don't think he didn't show up until he was to search for him. Correct?
Yes.
Was he there before? Was he in the cemetery before the search started?
Yeah.
Oh, he was visiting the cemetery.
I'm not sure. I cannot remember why he
Because
was
I always
there.
thought the mole guy was in the cemetery, but since that interview was released, he wasn't in the. I don't think he was necessarily in the cemetery. He's seen the vehicle. That was his. I always thought that maybe he was in the cemetery. What's his name? The exterminator. I always thought that he was in the cemetery and he seen the guy come out of the woods, but that's not
Come
true.
on, Brad
So
Heath.
apparently he was the one that seen the 2 vehicles or the 1 vehicle or something to that matter over there at the CPS. So I don't think there was anybody in the cemetery that I know of. I know Pat Brown ended up parking there later, but I thought that was like when they were searching.
It was early he was there because they blocked him in, the whole time. And supposedly he was looking for his keys. I'll figure that out. In a minute.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that same thing too. But I mean, I don't know. You think if it was Pat Brown though, they would have had, if they have their partial DNA or and the round and all that. I don't know. You think they would have already caught on to that after 6 years? But like you said, who's to say? It could, he could be very well involved if that's the case. But my understanding was that maybe he came there that night to help search and then lost his keys that night looking or something, or maybe the next morning showed up in the truck and parked there and then lost his keys during the search then. And that's why he would be blocked in by the police. You know what I mean? As far as him not involved in the crime at all, he could have very well parked down there because he knows Ron Logan. He asked for permission. We know that from Ron Logan as well. He asked if he could search there, and maybe he knew that area down there as well, parked.
Well, hey, Ron Logan says
He's
that
not
Pat Brown
involved
helped
at all,
find
but
him.
that is kind of weird that he loses his keys in the cemetery.
But didn't Pat Brown say didn't Ron Logan say that Pat Brown helped find the girls?
But he wasn't alone, though. I mean, he was with other people as well. So, I mean,
Yeah, I got you.
just because you find the body, I mean, does that lead any more credence to him doing it just because you find the bodies?
No, it doesn't. Hey, Tina.
I mean,
tell us,
to me, it doesn't. I mean, unless it was like, hidden away in a closet or, stuffed in a freezer or something like that. But they're just kind of laid out, it's in the open. And eventually they're going to walk across it. You know what I mean?
Tina, give us your overview of where you heard Brad Heath, the exterminator, was at. I mean, there's some interesting things with he may even spout the 2 vehicle theory. What do you think? Tell us about that.
I mean, when I saw no, that's not true. When I heard the Gray Hughes audio of Brad Heath calling in and, Brad was questioning why they weren't, talking about the second car he saw that morning. And when he came back, he saw that same car. He said he never saw anything, at the CPS. And that's where he was across from the CPS, I think, doing his exterminating. I think that's where he was. But, that second car, that's what, that's not even in the PCA. And I'm thinking, is that part of their strategy? My mind goes 100 different ways, but I was like, is that part of their strategy that they did not put that second car out there? Was that something they kept out of the PCA because that's who they suspect is maybe another actor? Maybe they were supposed to, Richard Allen was going to kidnap the girls, and the other car that was parked closer, not at the CPS, was parked closer, and they were going to take the girls to that car and take them elsewhere, kidnap them and do whatever. That's where where my thought went, because when we talk about, a witness saw Richard Allen bloody and muddy, he didn't plan on that. It wasn't supposed to be like that. That's not what the plan was. It was to kidnap them and take them elsewhere, take them to that car Brad Heath saw, and then he walk across and goes right. Richard Allen will just go back to his car at the CPS. That could explain why he pumped so. And again, this is just, I'm not saying that this is it. This is just something I thought of. If there is another actor that helped, maybe it was that second car. And Doug Carter always says, that spoken of, except from murder sheets, but was that what Brad Heath saw? Was a red Jeep? He just says an older model. He doesn't say what kind, so.
Well, there's definitely a lot of lot of holes you can go down to that for sure. So now we're kind of hitting all around that whole thing of whether or not we believe that there were other actors involved. So that's kind of, we're still talking about that. We've talked about whether someone just let him know them were there, and let Richard Allen know the girls were coming there or were there. We talked about that. And it, like you said, the movement that he makes, he pulls up there, he seems to get to where he's going to real quick. So it looks like he was kind of prepared, and we see from his jacket, you can see the imprint of a gun. We know that he had some kind of a larger 6 or 7 inch fixed blade knife, because you don't probably do the type of work he did, quote unquote work he did on these poor girls. With like a little bitty pocket knife. I mean, this is, it just doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like what would happen. And, but we see him not parking at the cemetery. We see him parking way back up there where he has to go by everyone there, and cameras and the highway or down a trail or through the woods to get to back where he was at. That still doesn't make sense to me. I can't reconcile. It looks like he was prepared, but didn't think it all the way through. And maybe he was so excited at getting the kill or getting these girls that he just overlooked that little small part there. But it looks like, just if you were to hear though, let's just kind of talk about some of the evidence that they have against him that we've heard about that they have. I mean, I've heard stuff about the cat hair and the clothing that he wore that day. He may even have, we've talked about the gun some. One of the things that I'm going to kind of switch over to that for just a second. I heard this, speaking of Murder Sheet podcast, I listened to a couple of their streams in the past couple of days. And one of them was a ballistics expert. This guy really acted like, knew what was going on. He characterized the Sig Sauer as a very high quality gun, one that was made with metal. It wasn't just carbon fiber gun. It was heavy metal, big gun, and that it was made of high quality parts and mechanisms that gun may even leave as many as 3 impressions on an unspent shell if you were to cycle it, an unspent cartridge if you were to cycle it through that gun. Put it into the magazine, put it into the chamber. You got something from the magazine that scars it. You got something from the chamber around the rim that may scar it. And then you have an ejecting mechanism that'll scar it below the rim. So, and then, they were talking about the box of shells, the cartridges, the unspent shells, the bullets, whatever you want to call them. A lot of men keep those. Like, I was making the assumption last night. I went and looking at my ammo, and I have, I used to shoot mostly a 30-30. That's my favorite gun. So I have boxes of shells that are old. I mean, they're old boxes of shells. They're boxes of shells that I had 10, 15 years ago. I'd shot half of them, and I just put it back in my hunting box, in my storage. But then I went and bought other boxes and used them, and I just put them in there. So I wouldn't doubt him having the exact same ammo that he had before. Kid, what do you think?
Yeah, I think in the Sig Sauer, I don't have one, but what I've read on that particular model that he had, a lot of law enforcement carry that type or used to carry that type of gun because it doesn't have an external safety per se as like a safety like you think on a rifle or on a regular pistol to where it's a button that you push with your thumb or like a grip safety. It's a safety to prevent the accidental firing, but always having one in the pipe. That gun was designed to have one in the pipe for a service gun, basically for a police officer or somebody that's going to constantly have one in loaded because it's made how the hammer is and how it's made to not accidentally fire, but it doesn't have a safety. See what I'm saying? Like if you go and read up on that model of Sig Sauer that he has, that's exactly what it's designed for.
Yeah.
So why is the bullet at the scene? Well, he's not comfortable carrying around a loaded gun. Even though that gun's designed for that, he's not law enforcement. He doesn't understand that, and he's not comfortable carrying around one with one in the pipe as he's hiking around, even though it's one of the safest guns to do that with. That kind of leads credence to that as far as the firearm goes. And yeah, if they can match tool markings and stuff, I mean, it's, you start, maybe that's not an end all be all right there, but you start adding in all the other shit with it, man, and it's not looking good. You don't sit on a bench for an hour, unless you're aqualung, bro. I mean, you're sitting there right next, sitting on a park bench right next to a double homicide. Now, give me a break. And you had the same kind of gun. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, if they can match up the ammo, like I said, I probably have rounds of ammo. And if not that, I police my brass. So anything I shoot, I keep the brass so I can either A, reload it, or B, give it away to somebody that does reload it. I got sacks and sacks of brass, dude, that are probably from years old. So I don't know how much he shoots. I wouldn't say that dude's an avid shooter.
No.
By any means. So I almost bet he probably has that box of ammo.
So
I'm hoping he does, man, and they can just this is pretty obvious, dude. You said you've never been over there. Why is your piece of ammo that matches it? You know what I mean? How did it get there? There's only so many people, bro, that he's connected to that you allow in your house, or, you know what I mean? Allow access to that, to his gun or to his ammunition. So you got some explaining to do.
Well, and then again, another thing that was there, I don't know much about the DNA stuff. Maybe Tina does, but if you heard about that they dug up the cat, there may have been extraneous cat hairs even at the scene, not including maybe some blood on the bullet. That would be an ultimate, discovery right there. To have his fingerprints and Abby's blood on that bullet there. You know what I'm saying?
I just hope that, none of us knew about anything of Richard Allen. They knew about it.
I mean, it sure would make everything a whole lot easier. That's for sure. You would think for sure, because that's what gets people for sure. I mean, you can't. It's hard to deny that, specifically if it's in the correct place. That is on anything to do with those girls. And of course, the next component of this is and we've tried to figure this out. Is that and then I'm just going back to the Gray Hughes video explanation of this thing. We saw him come in there real quick. He gets those girls and he goes down here real quick, and then it just almost looks like it's on pause because it just stays there for so long. I mean, for an hour and a half, maybe even closer to 2 hours, this guy is down the hill with these girls, or he's down somewhere. But now a lot, if you hear people talk about it, it was over at 3:30, but even still, that's an hour and 15 minutes. That's a long time, even if it's 30 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Like when, you watch that Gray Hughes video, I go back to just because, you know, it looks like he spent 90 minutes there, that's just what Gray's speculating, because that's what we all do. I don't think he was there that long with them like that. He was there definitely a while, but he was going to have to get out of there because Derek had shown up by this time. You know, and there's people out there probably hollering their names and starting to search. So I think the reason he was seen going back bloody muddy or whatever was because he was probably ducking, hiding behind trees, trying to figure out, oh my God, this went wrong, or he didn't expect to be as bloody as he was, maybe. And he had to get back. He had to get out of the woods. So he was more ducking and hiding behind trees than maybe staying there that whole 90 minutes, because I just can't see he spends 90 minutes with them and then just takes off running with people in the woods looking. That's where I don't think he was there the whole time. I think he was trying to get out of there.
Hey, kid, you back in the mix? Maybe he's there.
I don't know.
Kid?
Can you hear me now? I was kind of
Yeah, there
losing
you
you a
go.
little bit, but yeah, I don't know, man. As far as, you know, maybe the deal says 3:57, I think. So he was, you know, around the crime scene, or at least, you know, on the east side of that camera. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, at least he was on the east side of that camera anyway. You know, till 3:57, I think, is when it seen him, or something to that effect, or when the witness seen him on the road right there. So I don't know if he was ducking behind trees or whatnot. I think he just, you know, like you said, you know, trying to be as normal as possible, just walked out of there, probably threw his hoodie on, covered up, tried to look nonchalant, and walked out of there. I don't know if that would have made him look obvious if he was, you know, hiding behind trees. And at 4 o'clock, you got to think, you know, he'd been there, you know, for, you know, what, an hour, 45 minutes, the father. So they probably weren't looking in the woods yet. Like I said, he said he walked down the 501 down to the creek and back up, and then he walked down to the Freedom Bridge or whatnot. So that probably would have burned up that whole hour. Let's say that he was there 45 minutes. You know what I mean? So before they even started looking in the woods, he would have already been out of the woods. So
Yeah, but I just meant,
it would seem like
he could hear them. So, you know, he was trying to get out of Dodge. And when I say hiding behind the trees, I just mean like he's ducking and trying to get out. And then, you know, he just walks. He has no choice but to walk across the road.
Well, the point is, though, is they got there really quick. I mean, Derek got there, let's see, 3:14. What time would he get there?
Yeah, between the guy on the private drive and Derek calling the phone, I imagine he heard the phone. I mean, come on, the guy kept calling. Everybody kept calling that whole hour that he was there. So even if it was on vibrate, you know how you can hear a phone vibrate, and you know what I mean. You think between the guy on the private drive coming and that phone ringing all the time, the guy would have been trying to get out of there. But like I said, maybe he's, you know, had some other things that he had to fulfill before he left.
We don't know what he did to those girls. We do know that their clothing was scattered all up and down that creek. So, I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the families and the law enforcement just don't want that released, you know, until they just have to. Hopefully, you know, it was quick for them, but it doesn't sound like it just from this. It sounds like, you know, two young girls on there. Anybody, somebody pulls a gun on me, and I'm just out there walking on a nature trail, man, and forces me down a hill. That's some scary stuff. You know, that's not something I want to encounter very much. For sure. I mean, that's serious, you know, and just what kind of, you know, mental, psychological, crazy stuff these girls were going through. You know, I mean, I think it was Omar that said that earlier, was like, you know, those poor girls. But, and of course, this is just a follow-up real quick. Andy Pound mentioned that I think they started to run away until he cocked that gun to show him he meant business. That may be why that bullet's there, you know, just to kind of, you know, to say, hey, I'm serious business. A lot of people have talked about that, so that may have something to do with it. It may not. What do you think, Tina?
I don't know enough about the gun thing, so
You gonna stay out of that, huh?
yeah, you and Kid can do that.
Well, there's other things to talk about too. You know, there's there's other ways that we can describe how he could have gotten help. So we talked about beforehand. We talked about the possibility of somebody meet from the cemetery because it would have never gotten on video. So somebody else could have showed up and, but it looks like they would have given you a ride. Of course, if he was muddy and bloody, I'd be like, you're not getting in my truck like that, bro. But so maybe there could have been someone else there.
Yeah, because see, it's not. They don't mention that in the PCA. I forget where I read it or listened to it about actually I think it was Brad Heath who said it, Gray Hughes, that it was parked away from the cameras. The second vehicle he saw parked alongside the road. So they don't have any video of it. Maybe.
Yeah.
See, and I always thought that's why when they did the press conference and screwed up the hole where the car was and all that, that there was something to that. Because if you see how they said he's parked on the east side of County Road 300, when, they meant something totally different. I wonder if maybe accidentally something, if there was two vehicles there, one parked on the side of the road and one actually parked at the CPS. And as far as the gun, man, that's what I'm saying. The guy's a fucking coward because, he's obviously looking for somebody that's impressionable enough to where he could pull a gun, cock it, and force them to go down. A 14-year-old boy at that age, you got to go a lot younger with a country kid to scare him with a loaded gun like that, just to cock the gun. To me, it just doesn't seem like you're going to be able to, you know what I mean? He was, and a 40-year-old lady or a 30-year-old lady, she knows better than to go to a secondary location with somebody, that's taught to everybody. That's what I say. It leads to, him being a pederast. I think there's got to be something in the past, man, where he's doing something to animals and everybody just missed it.
Hey, Walter, what's a pederast?
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Let's see here.
To me, the time, man, that's what I don't get, man. That's why I don't want to believe other people are involved. But, man, that timeline, there's something else. There's got to be something else to it we're just missing altogether. And like I said, thank God we're not investigators because we would have screwed this up from the get, or I would have.
And here we talk about Ellie, and I can come up with 100 different plots and theories, and probably every single one of them was wrong. But I agree with you, Kid, about the timeline. I always thought he was a lone wolf. And then when we actually get the PCA and we see the timeline, he had to have prior knowledge, so therefore, is that the other actor? It's just go in circles.
Okay, what is it here? Anybody ready for a stakeout, lookout, passed out? Just the fate. What are you talking about? I don't know what that means. What did Any Pan? Maybe his job was just to get them down the hill. Well, it could very well be that.
The Occam's razor, though, man, the more complex you make it, man, the less likely it seems plausible, or there'd be a lot of other factors involved as far as witnesses, and it would seem like it would be a lot different if it was, it just seems like it would be different if there was I can see maybe two people, but past that, man, I just don't see it. But it's possible. Who knows? That little creepy town. And then not only the town, since this investigation and the Klein investigation, the one thing that came out of it, look at all the arrests they've made, and they actually have a cyber crimes division now, it looks like. And so that's, sucks that it took that, but you know what I mean? At least now they're actually looking for that stuff in that state. So maybe, everybody else's kids don't have to be preyed on, because it's pretty easy to get online and to stalk people online with the way technology is and how everybody's plugged into it and addicted to it. I mean, it definitely needs to be taught, I think, in school. It needs to be a class in school as far as keeping your ass safe on the internet.
I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, because it's it's easy to reveal too much, for sure. Because I mean, it's this thing's this, but then again, these things, um, uh, they follow you all the time. And they're like at your home, you have a dog to give you some kind of warning that something's there, but online, you really don't have that. And specifically if you're young, and even more specifically if it was 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, I think that like with our children, you have to you have to figure in time to make sure what kind of devices people are using, the apps that they're using on their devices, whom they're communicating with. I mean, you have to watch all that stuff. We've learned that, I think, from Libby and Abby's situation. They, to me, they were small town America, and they were getting raised like a lot of us got raised, in our 40s and 50s and on up. And you just kind of go do what you want to do. You felt safe in town. But over the last few years, things have changed. We had a lull. Speaking of a lull, we had a lull in America where it wasn't that, where there was kind of a decrease in crime, but things are going back up again now. So we have to be more diligent all of the time, in my opinion, because this battle that I've been talking about is the battle of good and evil. I just thought everything was good, but if you open your eyes, it may turn out good in the end. There may be something we learn from it. We may get all these dirt bags off the street, maybe get a serial killer off the street, maybe get Kagan and all of his group off the street, but we still lost these little girls. That's what's so sucky about it. And this guy, man, this Richard Allen, I don't know, man. I don't know. He sure does look the part, but there's just so much we don't know. What else is with this case? What else has been bothering you guys with it lately? What's been making you think about things? I see here that people are talking about this Idaho 4 thing. I guess it's kind of it's somebody that's like with Richard Allen and this I can't think of that guy's name, maybe Brian, was it Koberg or something like that? Koberger. I mean, these are up close and personal killers, multiple people, mass killings, just like the people do at schools and such. I mean, these are mass killers coming in and doing stuff like that. And Richard Allen doesn't, just from outside appearances, he doesn't seem to fit that. This guy does not fit what I see as a mass killer. But I don't know much about him.
He's a serial killer.
Well, he probably is a serial killer. Let's talk about that. There's been a lot of information that can tie him to that Sofer girl. I mean, even I think. What was your impression with it?
I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I just think, like we mentioned earlier, he was organized, and he's in his mid-40s at that time, and then you just go out and you do this. I think he had the urge, and I think it was Kid who was saying, because serial killers, they usually do kill small animals first, and I do know that before his wife took down her Facebook, there was a bird incident video of that. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. I really don't want to go into it, but there was a video of a bird and what had happened.
I didn't.
Did you guys see that video?
I don't think I saw it. Kid, you see it?
I didn't see it, man. But before I lose this thought, as far as the technology side as well, and yeah, it is good. The parents need to be monitoring their kids as well. But man, a lot of the times technology is growing so fast that the parents are ignorant to the fact of technology and how widespread it is, and how susceptible you're making yourself to these fucking pederasses out there. A lot of the time there's a disconnect, between generations. That's what I was saying. you're going to tell me these big tech companies have algorithms to where they can separate fucking revenue and how advertisement is done with AI programs, but they don't have AI programs to catch these pederasts and you know what I mean, and hitting on these kids online and grooming them online. You know what I mean? It ain't like they just hit them up once and bam, it's done. You know, the grooming style, you know, that whole. So there's a lot that I think needs to be done as far as the tech side of shit needs to be done. Is that they need to clean their shit up and start doing their part as well. But yeah, so you know, some of the parents. But you know, when I was, if we would have had this technology when we were young, we would have had apps that were hidden that you wouldn't be able to find. You know, for the simple fact is that you know, teenagers are fucking teenagers, bro. It's all about rebelling, and you know what I mean. That's just it is what it is. It ain't their fault. It's just it is what it is, and you know
That's
what I mean?
true.
That's before I lose that thought, big tech and you know what I mean, that they make billions and millions off of your data. And these assholes can't even, you know, run an AI program to keep the kids safe. You know, come on. We can do better, guys. I mean, we should demand better from these assholes at Facebook, at you know, all these big tech companies.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if they can get all their information from us, you know, to collect all this data. In fact, I heard one of those guys talking about that on their kid. It was like, I think it was on the motor sheet.
Yeah, but then when there's a pederast involved, all of a sudden they don't want to share the data because it's a fucking civil rights issue. But
Yeah,
yet they're fucking selling our shit back doors for a fucking nickel a fucking address all day long, brother. So yeah, I mean there's and not only
yeah,
that, you know, parents do need to, you know, police their kids, you know, the best they can. But just like anything, man, at 14, you're not gonna be able to catch a 14-year-old and with technology, you just you know what I mean? We grew up on Ataris, homie. They're growing up on virtual reality. You ain't gonna be able. We don't even understand half the fucking programs that kids run, and that's the way it should be. But like I said, man, there's a lot to be. You know, there's a lot that technology, these tech companies, they need to, you know, they need to do something. Is how I see it. Before I lose that thought, but go ahead, man. I'm sorry to go off on a tangent.
no, you went off on a good tangent there. Um, I think that's a valid line of thought. I mean, like I said, if they can do all they can do with the data, to me, I'm a marketer, so I use that data to help push out. But now I don't push it out to people under 18 because I sell jobs to people, and I use Facebook's algorithm. But now what a lot of these kids are using is not Facebook. Facebook is probably more policed, and it's a wide open field, as we know from all the election stuff we've seen. But they're using you know, Snapchat and whatever else. You know, I hear that like TikTok over there in wherever it's from in Asia, maybe China or whatever, it teaches their kids safety and it teaches them mathematics. And over here we're watching, you know, people fall off of a diving board, or you know. But anyway, we got some more questions here. Um, let's see here. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of discussion I see going on. And Tina, you I don't know, you look like you're over there in chat. It looks like there's some talks about child abuse type situations going over there. What are you getting from over there in chat, Tina?
They're talking about adjusted fate. You know, I think he started it off with child abuse. It's just, you know, it's a big business, and he's right. And then Omar was talking. He says, "I live in New York City and met a chauffeur from the New York family. He described the conversation he overheard. It's all about." You know, we still don't, you know all that, but it's a sad business. But I wanted to make a point with you guys were talking about, you know, having a class. It's not a teacher's responsibility. It starts with the parents. There are so many parents who just give that kid the phone and don't follow up anything just to keep that kid away from them so they can do their thing. I mean, it starts at home, and it's unfortunate that, the school systems have to pick that up. I'm not against, schools teaching that, but parents need to be parents. I have a friend who's a teacher at a school, and I could tell you some of the stories that he tells me, and it's just because those parents don't have time for those kids. And it's just sad. And that's how they get caught up in this.
Yeah, it is. Of course, and right now you get, as kid was talking about, you have to be diligent in watching watching your kids, because man, there is all kinds of bad that's out there. I mean, and of course, I didn't really understand it. You talking about Epstein and all this, all of that, and everything that's evolved from that over the years. And man, I just could not believe it. I mean, I can't imagine hurting kids. Kids to me, of course, I come from a different type background. Kid, that's a very special thing protected by God. I mean, this is a a kid is it's the next generation. It's a very, to me, it's a very spiritual thing. I mean, it's something you should protect and at all costs. But it seems like they're specifically in the case of Delphi, and I think this is what's so scary about what those girls encountered that day, is that they either experienced two evils that day that were working together, or at least two independently operating evils. And one of them was in their phone chatting with them, trying to groom them or whatever he was trying to do, get pictures or get to meet them that day or what have you. And then there was another guy that was there that was the boots on the ground for them, or perhaps he was a lone wolf. But that's what's so scary to me, is that just look at these two little girls out there on a walk that day, and was being circled by two levels of evil. All right, now we got a question right here. This is for Tina, and it's from Adjusted Fate. And we talked about some electronic equipment, but I'm going to let you figure out what you want to say on Greeno, if you want to say anything.
I was just in chat getting ready to.
Kid, what you got to say about Greeno? Or do you have anything to say about it?
I don't think he's involved. My personal opinion of him, the dude's a creeper, man. I don't know the guy. I don't know. I get bad vibes from the guy, and he's a liar. He's a womanizer. I mean, just the shit he's done to the girlfriends that has made it public. I mean, basically, fuck Greeno. That's how I see it. I mean, but that's if I've seen it personally, I don't think he's involved in the crime or anything like that. I just think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm sending you a message.
Okay. So you don't want to talk about it on air, but yeah.
Did I cut out? I think my phone cut out. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to edit that out or not. That's how I feel about the guy. I mean, he's definitely making money off of a bad situation. It's obvious. His little strip club, 1980s style news broadcast bullshit. I mean, it's just, the guy's pathetic, bro.
Yeah. Well, I think that Adjusted Fate said it right. Elf Greeno. Well, but if you look at this thing though, man, there's a lot of seedy characters, everywhere you go, not just there in Delphi, but I mean, there's some wild things around there. And, a lot of people, I'm going to tell you right now, inside of the Delphi sphere, I mean, there's a lot of people that believe that it's deeper. We talked about, the new document from Richard Allen, which states that they want to know about the personnel files for a lot of the law enforcement people there. There's a lot of people who think there's some corruption there. A lot of people believe that the law enforcement is connected to the underworld, the crime underworld of car thieving and drug running and just any number of things going on up there. And of course, if you hear something enough, it may, or you may find it, there may be a little bit of truth in it. It may not be. I don't know. I mean, I would hope not. But if you listen to the wide variety of people talking, they'll tell you there's corruption up there, and that just that feeds the fire. Whenever we don't know anything, what we're seeing from Idaho and from Delphi and every other case is like, so what you hiding from us? What's really going on here?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to, ties into that JFK and that, that friction between the people and government, man. Them white lies they tell over, so you know what I mean? Lies that probably they don't mean anything, but after 20 years of them, people start becoming real skeptical and become paranoid. The people are paranoid and the police are paranoid, I think. Both sides are just paranoid of each other. And like I said, it delays justice. It doesn't work out for either group.
So what do y'all think is going to happen over the next month or so? We're going to start seeing some court things going on the next month. I mean, just from what you're seeing right now, you kind of made one prediction, kid, that there's going to be lots of this fight. There's going to be a lot of shit throwing against the wall here in the next few weeks for sure. I mean, Tina, tell me what's the court case situation look like?
Well, he doesn't, his bond hearing's not until February. So we probably, unless we get something like I got today, the documents that were filed on my case, because I look at that all the time. That's how I, got those documents to you. They were on the news, and I went on my case, got them. But I don't think there's a gag order. So the only time we're going to get anything, I think, is what we find on my case. And that's just, my opinion.
Well, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. And it looks like it's been coming pretty regular. I mean, I never expected to see this pop up today. I mean, but it's right before a holiday, so that's whenever they throw that out there, and the prosecution is not going to have a chance to respond, over the weekend probably. So it's going to be a while before they can make any kind of a maneuver, because they got to respond to this. I mean, that's a lot of stuff in there. In my mind, I'm expecting some kind of response somewhere from some, maybe a leak, maybe something else. I mean, what do you guys think? You think there may be a leak?
With the gag order,
Kid,
with the gag order, man, they're not. Yeah, with the gag order, they're not going to do
that to the defense lawyer.
Yeah, with the gag order, if they get caught, man, that's going to be bad. That's going to also feed into their corruption angle as well. So
I see his window bouncing.
Can you hear me?
Must be his signal.
Maybe.
What's that?
What do you think? I mean,
what was the question again?
Well, oh Lord, what happened? Maybe I missed something. Adjusted fate. I think we all missed something. What happened? I think that maybe it quit. Kid, can you hear me? Oh, he's got his mic turned off. He must be doing something.
I can hear you, bro. Can you hear me now?
Maybe he's back on.
Can you hear me?
Executed. I mean, they filed that motion, so the next thing.
Yeah, you guys here?
See is when they turn that stuff over. Now we won't be able to see all that information. I wouldn't think. We'll just know that the defense got the stuff that they asked for.
Yeah, that I guess that was what my question was. Is that will they leak anything though? Like I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen next. There's got to be. I mean, he's defended himself like that. I almost feel like there's going to be some kind of a campaign to go off and prove to the public a little bit, like another small bit of something come out. You know what I'm saying? Another leak as such, another way to get something out.
I don't know if they're going to have a leak, man. If a leak comes out, man, it's going to.
I don't know if he was here at the beginning. Can you put those in the community?
Yeah, I can. I can. I'm gonna put them there right now, actually, and we'll show on the screen in just a minute too. But let me put them up there, and then we'll come back and look
So
at.
just if they just check the community page on Outside the Grid, it was just a motion for discovery. Basically,
You guys hear me now?
defense lawyers are asking for everything that the prosecution has.
Can you hear
It'll
me
take
now,
just
Brad?
a minute to get these on here because I've got them. I guess they're in the right order. I don't know. But this is a pretty big dig. I mean, of course, if Adjusted Fate didn't see this, they're asking for all kinds of information. What, of course, they should. I mean, they under discovery, I mean, they should ask for all of this and probably more if they were smart. Let's see, what is this thing called? If the
For discovery.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any leaks though
Richard
coming
Allen,
from the prosecution. Man, it's going to set a bad.
Defense motion for. Okay, all right, and that should be there. But I'm going to pull up on the screen real quick too. They should be able to see a lot from that. Maybe. I don't know. That thing is kind of shaped out. They'll see some of it anyway. But we'll pull it up here real quick. I'm gonna pull it up from the front, and we'll just kind of look at it again because I know there may be people that didn't see what was going on. Okay, I'm just gonna do it like this right here. I think that popped up, and I think let me check something real quick. I think Kid dropped off, but I just added him back.
All right, you guys here?
Hey, Kid, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Kid, check the rhyme.
Yeah, what I was going to say though is I don't think there's going to be any leaks from the prosecution, bro. I mean, that would set a bad precedent, especially if they're going to go after this corruption angle. But I think all we're going to be able to do is be able to read all the different motions and be able to get a little bit of information.
Okay, let me catch up here. Yeah, that screen. Yeah, share that screen. We're testing. Yeah, we're testing, man. Tina, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I gotta watch here for Kid.
But we should be able to tell. We should be able to tell quite a
Kid.
bit from the
Kid,
different motions. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
See if he's on here at all anymore.
Okay. So we can go through this thing. So you brought up a couple here. Well, I think we looked at number 3, wasn't it? Here, the rest of them, it's just a lot of them are pretty. I think this first one here. No, this is not the grand jury. This is the.
I think it's number 6.
See, what was 3? Was there anything with 3? Recorded statements of any substance or oral statements made by an accused.
Oh, that's just what Richard Allen told them.
Yep. And then we went to number 4. That's any experts. So they want all
it's
this.
Number 6.
Yeah, there we go, right there. Number 6. You want to read it? I've read it twice.
You're gonna have to make it bigger. I'm on my.
Yeah, I got you. I can read it. Number 6 says a statement as to any consideration and benefits incurred or offered the state of Indiana has given or intends to give any witness in exchange for his or her testimony, including but not limited to monies paid, a change of prison accommodations and or workstation, or any state action that could reasonably affect the witness's bias, and disclosure of any and all state action its agents' actions taken during the time the witness was cooperating. And we just assumed that was tied to, somebody giving turning state's evidence, like maybe Kagan Klein.
Yeah. And then I think it's number 8.
And it could be just
grand
a
jury.
procedural deal,
Yeah.
just trying to cover everything they can too, man. It could be them
We
just.
didn't know there was even a grand jury there, huh?
Yeah.
And it may or may not be, but if they put it in there, either they won't. Well, there would have had to have been, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that, because they're asking for it.
Grand jury testimony of a witness. So that's
So obviously they've had a grand jury. They have to take what they have to a grand jury to see if they can go to trial or press charges, right?
you'd think.
Depending on what
30,000 people. I'm seeing that on there justified. Of course, you know, she's always having at least 3 or 4, 5, 6,000 people every time I go there. But man, that lady's professional. She is smart. I think that she was a pilot or something, man. She knows how to do it. Okay, let's see. What was next? I was trying to keep up with a little bit with the chat there. Let's see. Telephone calls, records, 12 was arrest convictions of juvenile records, which may be used of any witness. A record of arrest, criminal convictions, and juvenile records. The defendant.
Next that I think of is the Liggett.
Oh yeah. That is that's way on down, isn't it? It's like 23, maybe 22. Yeah. And it's up on the screen now. It's number 22 of this. There's a lot of, I guess, kind of like interrogatories, but 22 copies of any and all personnel files of Tobe Lesenby, Tony Liggett, and Michael Thomas related to their employment with Carroll County Sheriff Department. And then 23, it goes deeper with it. It's copies of any and all documents and audio video records pertaining to any completed or ongoing litigation, whether threatened or filed in a court of law. Threatened or filed, there's kind of broad, involving the Carroll County Sheriff's Department and the processing of any evidence in any criminal investigation dating back to February the 13th, 2017. I got to be. I had to cough. Sorry. Okay, so what does that mean? Why are they looking for any of that?
Which one, 23?
Yeah, I mean, what does that mean? Threatened? And why does it just go back to 2017?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but we skipped over the one about him giving a statement to the DNR guy.
Which one was that?
I'm looking.
Oh, yeah, there was number 15 too, the lineup. That was
I forgot about that.
the interest, and then maybe 16 here. Oh, I didn't even notice number 16. I'm just trying to catch up with this thing. But number 16 says a statement as to whether or not the defendant, any vehicle in which he had an interest or his residence were searched following his arrest, either with or without a search warrant, and if so, a statement of information contained in item seized as a result of the search. In addition, if the search was made pursuant to court-authorized search warrant, produce a copy of the search warrant together with a copy of the return. In other words, they want to know what was found. Further, a statement regarding all areas searched in the investigation of the case and a statement of information contained in the item seized as a result of the search. If the search was made by a court-authorized search warrant, produce a copy of the warrant together with a copy of the return and a transcription of testimony at the probable cause hearing to obtain the search warrant. If any search was made by consent, produce a copy of the consent to search form. With regard to all searches made in connection with the investigation, produce all reports, receipts, inventories, documents, tapes, and other tangible objects and evidence collected, along with a statement concerning where the evidence is currently stored. Wow. Yeah. So that's almost sounded like he gave them permission to search there without having a warrant. And then maybe they found something, then they called in and made them wait there to get that warrant. Didn't that happen that day?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, like they waited there for several hours before they ever. There he is. How about now, kid? Can you hear me now? He had his mic. Can I mute?
Yeah, you guys hear me?
To mute himself. He probably. I probably
hear
didn't
me
see
now?
him. There he is. Kid, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, bro. What's up?
Kid,
See, I don't see him.
he's showing up here on the
I don't know what's going
on
on
the
with it.
StreamYard thing.
Okay, I'm not.
And I had to add him in, but I may have missed it because he may got on to doing something else.
No, I'm here, bro. Can you hear me?
His mic is going to mute and back off again.
Hello.
What's going on with chat over here? There's like
Hello.
uh,
Hello.
Rick Allen snitched on itself. Yeah, I just saw that too about Adjusted Fate. I tell you right now, I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine that for sure. Prayers for you. That there's, I mean, good Lord, I have coffee with my dad every day. Maybe on a telephone driving down the road, but man, dads are very, very, very important. As are moms.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
So,
Can you hear me? Hello.
hey, thank you for visiting our channel, Adjusted Fate. We appreciate you and, you know, joining our lives and carrying on the conversation with us on this Friday night, one of the last ones of 2022. In fact, this is the last Friday night of 2022. Now, Tina, what else is there was something else we were going to talk about with Delphi. I know we've been on here right at 2.5 hours, but there was something else that we were talking about. What else was it? I was looking at my notes here and I was kind of checking off everything. What else was it that we were going to discuss? Can you think of anything?
Looking back through the conversation.
Good Lord, can you imagine 30,000 people in a chat? Oh, there's some chats from Kid. Let me see what this is. Yeah, Kid, we can't hear you, man. You know, and I keep accepting it.
I can hear you guys just fine.
Just lost her in 2010. Just me and my dog. Of course, I love cutting up with you, Brad. You good people in my book, as well as you are. We just like to come here and have fun. You know, talk about this case. Spend a little time spinning around the earth on a ball of dirt, rock, and water at 66,000 miles per hour on a. Oh, you can hear, Kid?
Can you hear me?
Ooh.
See, I don't.
I don't know. It's went all weird, man.
That's
I can hear you guys just fine. I can hear you guys just fine,
Would it have
but
to do with Discord?
you guys can't hear me.
I wonder if this is all coming through Discord. There's something about my screen up here about Discord says muted. I don't know what that means. I have no idea.
All right.
But you can hear us though, right? Adjusted Fate. Yeah.
It's so weird. He's tough mess. It can hear us.
I tell you right now. Well, anyway, I guess we need to get off this thing. Let people get on with their evening.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys
Yeah,
joining us.
I don't want to be like another channel that's on there for 8 hours.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. I mean, because you can cover lots of things. And my God, I appreciate everybody, man. I appreciate the time you spend here and Kid Check the Rhyme. And if you guys, hit like on the video, of course. And if you haven't subscribed to us, subscribe. Tina and I and Cliff are working on a show we're going to produce, I think, Sunday night, and we may go live and we may just record it. I don't know, but man, it's going to be something new. You want to give them a little bit of a thumbnail on it, or what do you think?
Ecclesiastes.
See, I can't even say that word.
That's why I said that.
Yeah.
It's about gaining wisdom.
Gaining wisdom. We love that. All right. Thank you guys so much. We're going to go live for you again one of these days. Thank you, Tina.
Black eyed peas either, brother.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.